Hello, everyone. I'm your storyteller, I. I will read a story that maybe one of you has experienced, and I am here to help you today. I know you're using this video to help you sleep. So before we begin, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Tell me in the comments where you're from and what time you're watching. Lay back comfortably, relax, and let's begin. Story 1. Emily Hart was a 27-year-old social worker living in New Haven, Connecticut. She was a warm, approachable woman whose smile had the power to light up a room. Her demanding job left her little time for a social life, so she turned to a popular dating app, LoveLink, to find companionship. Despite using the app, Emily was cautious. She thoroughly screened potential matches before meeting them in person. This was her way of balancing safety and the desire to find meaningful connections. One quiet evening, as Emily scrolled through profiles, she came across someone named Nathan. His bio was simple, yet intriguing. Looking for a meaningful connection, not just idle chatter. His profile picture showed a confident smile and piercing eyes. Emily hesitated, but ultimately swiped right. That decision would change her life forever. Nathan responded to the match almost instantly. Their conversation flowed easily, moving from light topics like favorite movies to deeper subjects like dreams and fears. Nathan seemed to know more about Emily than she expected. "You love walking by the beach, don't you?" he asked one evening. Emily paused. It was true, but she had mentioned it in her profile. "How do you know that?" she replied, half joking. "Just a lucky guess," Nathan wrote back with a wink emoji. Their connection deepened over the next few days. Nathan suggested meeting in person at a quaint restaurant near the coast called Lighthouse Grill. Though her friends advised caution, Emily felt safe enough to agree. The restaurant was cozy, nestled by the waterfront with dim lights that created an intimate atmosphere. Emily arrived early, dressed in a simple navy dress with her favorite brown jacket. She ordered a drink and waited. Nathan arrived a few minutes later. He looked just like his photos. Tall, handsome, with an air of quiet confidence. But something about him felt off. He kept glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone or something. As they talked, Nathan asked, "Do you believe in destiny, Emily?" She laughed nervously. "I'm not sure. Why do you ask?" Nathan leaned in slightly. "Because tonight feels special." Emily felt a chill run down her spine. She tried to steer the conversation back to safer topics, but Nathan's answers grew increasingly cryptic. When Emily excused herself to retrieve her jacket from the chair behind her, Nathan disappeared. His drink remained untouched, his chair slightly askew, but he was gone. Panic set in as Emily searched the restaurant and the surrounding area. Near a bench outside, she found her phone lying abandoned. The next morning, Emily's friends reported her missing. Detective Daniel Rourke, a seasoned investigator with a troubled past, took on the case. Daniel began by looking into Nathan's profile on LoveLink, but the profile had been deleted. Every trace of Nathan had vanished from the app. Witnesses at the restaurant claimed they only saw Emily arrive. Security footage confirmed this. Emily entered alone. No one matching Nathan's description appeared on the tapes. The deeper Daniel dug, the stranger the case became. Emily's digital footprints ended abruptly the night she disappeared. A week later, a breakthrough came when a search team found Emily's belongings in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Her phone, wallet, and jacket were neatly arranged in a corner. On the wall above them, scrawled in red paint, were the words, "She chose me." There were no fingerprints, no DNA, no evidence of anyone else being there. It was as if the scene had been staged by someone or something, not bound by the rules of this world. As weeks turned into months, hope of finding Emily alive dwindled. Detective Rourke pursued every lead, but nothing added up. Rumors began to spread that LoveLink had ties to other unexplained disappearances. Nathan, if that was even his real name, remained an enigma. The case was eventually closed, marked as unsolved, but those who knew Emily refused to give up entirely. What happened to Emily Hart? Perhaps we'll never know. Story 2. Sarah Morgan was a 32-year-old graphic designer living in the bustling city of Manchester, England. She had recently ended a 5-year relationship and found herself feeling lost in a sea of uncertainty. Friends suggested she try DateSphere, a sleek dating app known for its advanced matchmaking algorithm. Sarah hesitated at first. Online dating wasn't her style, but after weeks of encouragement and one too many lonely nights, she created a profile. Her bio was simple. Dreamer looking for someone who can share the magic of everyday moments. Late one evening, as rain softly pattered against her window, Sarah received a notification. "You've been matched." The profile belonged to someone named Ethan Ward. Ethan was perfect, or at least his profile was. His photos were warm and inviting. him laughing with friends, sitting by a campfire, and one where he gazed out over a misty hilltop. His bio read, "Adventurer with a love for quiet nights under the stars." Sarah hesitated but decided to send him a message. "Hi, Ethan. Love your profile. What's your favorite place to hike?" Ethan replied almost instantly. Their conversation flowed easily. Sarah was surprised by how much they had in common. They talked about everything from childhood memories to their favorite films, yet something felt slightly off. Ethan always seemed to know just what to say, as if he'd read her mind. "I bet you're the type who'd stop to help a stray cat," he messaged one day. Sarah chuckled. It was true, but she never mentioned it. Their connection deepened over the weeks, and Ethan suggested they meet in person. They agreed on a small cafe near the edge of town, known for its rustic charm and quiet atmosphere. The cafe was dimly lit, with flickering candles on every table. Sarah arrived early and picked a corner seat. She watched the door, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Ethan walked in moments later. He was tall and charismatic, just like his photos. But when their eyes met, Sarah felt an inexplicable chill. "Hi, Sarah," he said, his voice smooth yet distant. Their conversation started well enough, but as the night went on, Ethan's demeanor became increasingly strange. He avoided personal questions and seemed distracted, glancing around the room as if he were expecting someone or something. At one point, Sarah reached for her bag and accidentally knocked over her drink. As she cleaned up, she noticed something odd. Ethan's reflection in the window wasn't there. Her breath caught. She looked at him, trying to stay calm, but her mind raced with questions. After the meeting, Sarah tried to rationalize what she'd seen. Maybe it was a trick of the light, but over the next few days, things began to unravel. Ethan continued messaging her, but his tone changed. His words felt colder, almost menacing. Then, the nightmares started. Sarah dreamed of a shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed, whispering her name. She would wake up drenched in sweat, only to find her phone glowing with a new message from Ethan. "Why are you running from me?" One evening, while working late, Sarah received a video call from an unknown number. When she answered, her screen showed a dark, empty room. As she was about to hang up, a face appeared. Ethan's face. But his eyes were hollow, and his expression was twisted into a sinister grin. Terrified, Sarah began digging into Ethan's profile. With the help of a tech-savvy friend, she traced the account to a man who had died 2 years ago in a car accident near the cafe where they met. Desperate for answers, Sarah visited the cafe again. The owner, an elderly woman named Margaret, listened to Sarah's story with a grave expression. "You're not the first," Margaret said. "Ethan was a regular here. He used to talk about finding the perfect connection, but after he passed, people claimed to see him in their dreams, or worse." Margaret handed Sarah a photo of Ethan from years ago. It was unmistakably him, but the warmth in his eyes was replaced with something darker. Determined to put an end to the haunting, Sarah decided to confront Ethan's presence. She returned to the cafe late at night, armed with a journal Ethan had mentioned he used to keep. She had found it online in an auction. As she sat in the corner table where they had first met, the room grew unnaturally cold. The lights flickered, and then he appeared, sitting across from her. "You shouldn't have come back," Ethan said, his voice echoing unnaturally. Sarah held her ground. "What do you want from me?" Ethan's form shimmered, his expression torn between anger and sorrow. "I wanted to feel alive again, but I can't." Realizing his torment, Sarah placed the journal on the table and whispered, "You don't have to hold on anymore." Ethan's form dissolved into wisps of shadow, and the room returned to normal. The haunting stopped, but Sarah was forever changed. She deleted her profile and vowed never to use a dating app again. Though Ethan was gone, Sarah often felt his presence in quiet moments, as if he was silently thanking her for setting him free. But sometimes, late at night, she still hears a faint whisper. "Thank you, Sarah." Story 3. Rebecca Cooper was a 29-year-old freelance writer living in a quaint town just outside Edinburgh, Scotland. A lover of solitude, she spent most of her days crafting stories and sipping tea in her cozy flat. While she was content with her quiet life, her friends often teased her for avoiding the world of dating. "You'll never meet someone if you don't put yourself out there," her best friend Olivia had said over lunch one day. "Try Matchmaker, everyone's using it." After much persuasion, Rebecca reluctantly created a profile. She kept it simple. "Introvert seeking someone who loves rainy days and good books." It wasn't long before she received a match, Daniel Everett. Daniel's profile was charming. He was a photographer who loved exploring abandoned places, capturing their eerie beauty. His pictures were breathtaking, each one telling a story of forgotten worlds. Rebecca was intrigued. Their first conversation was effortless. They talked about their favorite authors, their love for mystery, and their shared fascination with the unknown. Daniel even suggested a spot for their first date, an old derelict manor just outside the city that he wanted to photograph. Rebecca hesitated. Meeting someone at an abandoned location wasn't her idea of romantic, but Daniel's enthusiasm was contagious, and she found herself agreeing. "Don't worry," he said in his message. "I'll bring my camera and we'll turn it into an adventure. Besides, I promise I'll bring coffee." The following Saturday, Rebecca met Daniel at the edge of the forest. The manor loomed in the distance, its silhouette stark against the gray sky. Daniel greeted her warmly, his camera slung over his shoulder. He was even more handsome in person, with sharp cheekbones and a lopsided grin. "This place is incredible," he said, his eyes lighting up. "I've been wanting to photograph it for years." As they approached the manor, Rebecca couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The windows, cracked and dusty, seemed like hollow eyes following their every move. Inside, the air was damp and cold. The floors creaked beneath their feet and cobwebs clung to the corners. Daniel set up his camera and began snapping photos while Rebecca wandered through the rooms, her footsteps echoing eerily. In one room, she found an old broken mirror. Its surface was clouded, but as she looked closer, she thought she saw a shadow move behind her. Whipping around, she found nothing but an empty hallway. "Rebecca, come here," Daniel called from the next room. When she joined him, he was staring at the screen of his camera, his expression puzzled. "Look at this," he said. The photo showed a figure standing in the corner of the room, a woman in a long dark dress. Rebecca's stomach dropped. "That's not possible. There's no one else here." As they continued exploring, the atmosphere grew heavier. Rebecca kept hearing faint whispers, though Daniel insisted it was just the wind. In one room, they found an old piano. Dust covered the keys, but when Daniel stepped closer, a single note played, breaking the silence. "Did you touch it?" Rebecca asked, her voice trembling. Daniel shook his head. "No, I didn't." The whispers grew louder. Rebecca thought she heard her name, faint and ghostly. "Rebecca!" She grabbed Daniel's arm. "We need to leave, now." As they hurried toward the exit, Daniel couldn't resist taking one last photo of the grand staircase. The flash illuminated the darkness, and Rebecca swore she saw a figure at the top of the stairs. When they got outside, Daniel checked his camera again. The last photo showed the same woman from earlier, now at the top of the stairs, her face turned toward the camera. Her eyes were empty, her expression filled with rage. "This isn't normal," Daniel whispered. "I think we've disturbed something." That night, Rebecca couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the woman's face. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Daniel. "I can't stop seeing her." Over the next few days, Rebecca and Daniel both experienced strange phenomena. Objects in their homes moved on their own. They heard footsteps in empty rooms. Rebecca woke up one night to find her mirror cracked, with the words "You shouldn't have come" scrawled across it. Desperate for help, they returned to the manor, hoping to find answers. Inside, they discovered an old diary belonging to a woman named Eleanor. The entries detailed her descent into madness after losing her family. The last entry read, "They left me here, but I'll never be alone. They'll come back to me one way or another." Realizing Eleanor's spirit was tied to the manor, Rebecca and Daniel performed a simple ritual to help her move on. They burned the diary and whispered a prayer for her peace. As the flames consumed the pages, the air grew warm, and the oppressive feeling lifted. For a brief moment, Rebecca thought she saw Eleanor's face in the smoke, her expression soft and grateful. Rebecca and Daniel stopped using Matchmaker after that experience. Their connection, though forged in fear, grew into a friendship. But sometimes, when Rebecca walked past her mirror, she thought she saw Eleanor's reflection, watching but no longer angry, and every now and then she heard a faint whisper, "Thank you."